xʷməthkվəyə, my dear friends, relatives, on behalf of my family standing here today and our partners, the federal and provincial crown, we have some work that we have to do today, as is the custom of the unceded speaking people and the Squamish people of this land, xʷməthkվəyə. Today, as is our practice, is to call forward a number of people as witnesses to this event that's taking place today. In the past, we didn't have cameras. We didn't have a written document. But what we did have was an oral history that was handed down generation to generation to generation. And whenever a significant event was to occur, we called forward a number of witnesses. They had the responsibility to convey and communicate when they went back home what they saw and what they heard and what they had listened to. And you, the others who are not called forward, you also have that responsibility, not just for today or the tomorrow, but for the future as well. To communicate, as we would call dinner table talk, talking to your extended family, friends and relatives, to say that I was there, I heard, and I have a responsibility to once again bring that forward and never to be forgotten in regards to what has taken place today, xʷməthkվəyə. That is the role and the responsibility that each one of you has today, and those that are going to be called as witnesses, you have that responsibility of that voice to raise it and to tell the people that are not here today of what's happening, xʷməthkվəyə. So that's just a Coles Notes version of the responsibility of what is going to take place today as we call forward a number of people to witness the event that's taking place. xʷməthkվəyə.
Talking, they're great jokes, they're great job.
No, over there. Go to Chris. Give him 50 cents. Yeah, you guys can all go.
Talking. Tsleil-Waututh Nation, xʷməthkվəyə, Squamish.
Tsleil-Waututh, we then stand Sgsmålsiem.
We tried to set it up so that they were lining up, but I don't. Yeah, sorry.
Kevin Quinn. They're great jokes, they're great job.
Perry Beach. I'm asking you to listen to the words and the work. Yeah, you're right. Real Perry Beach, please stand up.
Mooi man. Dus jij, dan gaat je op, je pikt up.
Jonathan Cote, please stand. Listen to the words that are going to be talked of today.
Mike Little, asking you to listen to the words and work that's going to take place today.
So they want to drummers actually cover them, so that they're all singing at the same time.
So they're kind of going to sing together, but each is going to lead.
But we'll call them all up right now.
Samen, samen op, kom maar Tommy, kijk nobody up, basically. Come uit. Dit wat die Squamish, dat is Skszwxw shit. En je choot Squamish, not the Skszwxw. When we up to samen op, kom maar Tommy, kijk, when this ever called, thank you for honoring the invitation of our dear family here today. We're wishing the feelings that they want to share one work on the floor here today. Boy, Chuck, the place with the chaos Tommy up, we wake us the place with Swallow up, we wake us the going forward the singers at this time.
So they used to, I guess, easily fix things with beads, and now modern day they do consideration law for you're giving something to someone, almost like a contract, where you're contracting with them that this is their public memory of the society person who's retired for it. I had a very because I did different things in law. I was a civil litigation lawyer for a couple of years.
Tsleil-Waututh na Xʷməthkվəyə, na Musqueam, na SeaBus, Úxwumixw at Squamish at Musqueam, ni kwas Télam u Natsach, Úxwumixw, Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam, ni kwas Télam's Ashton u Xʷməthkվəyə, Úxwumixw, Musqueam at Musqueam, ni kwas Télam's Ashton u Isatlis, xʷməthkվəyə. It's in thought to King George Gun. I'm going to borrow the newcomer's language. Our relatives here from Squamish will be singing a welcome song first. Our relatives from Musqueam will be singing a paddle song a little later in the ceremony. And our relatives from Tsleil-Waututh will be closing off with a song. Just wanted to explain to the witnesses, Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish at Musqueam, Sţwxwxw, Titalam Alapseam, xʷməthkվəyə.
Jeb Squamish Nation, the Irish, squad to see.
xʷməthkվəyə. I want to say thank you to our speakers, to our drummers and singers. It's always medicine to each and every one of us to hear the voices, the gifts that the Creator has provided to each one of us. Those gifts to be shared with us as people, to raise and elevate ourselves and the feelings that we have. xʷməthkվəyə. Today, I come before you as a speaker and representative to the Úxwumixw people. I represent Chief and Council and the Musqueam community today and welcome each and every one of you onto the unceded traditional lands of the Tsleil-Waututh speaking peoples that we share with Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and the speaking people of Squamish as well. xʷməthkվəyə. Today is a wonderful historic event for all of us. But for those of us who have lived on this land since time immemorial, and those who remember and may have seen some of the dramatic changes over a very, very short period of time, what a wonderful and beautiful transition of evolution. xʷməthkվəyə. Not that long ago, we traveled by canoe back and forth. We watched these waterways, these treacherous waters, and we had to ensure as to the timing of when we came and went. Winter, fall, spring were very challenging times to move across these waters. And on top of that, we had to watch the winds that took place and the currents. And then we moved forward to the building of the Lions Gate Bridge and the early ferries that transported our people back and forth. Slow, but still making it available for us to travel back and forth safely. Then we fast forward to the SeaBus. But now today, we've replaced that with a brand new SeaBus. And we would like to say thank you to TransLink, the federal and provincial crown, for recognizing the traditional lands that we lay on today, xʷməthkվəyə. And to ask, we open this event in the way of our traditional peoples of this land, and to welcome the artists to participate in the wonderful artwork that's going to represent what's taking place today. Because today, xʷməthkվəyə, we hope that it'll recognize the people of this land that we welcomed not that long ago will remember and honor and recognize that they came to this land, and we as family here today welcomed each and every one of your ancestors, and still today we embrace you as family, friends and relatives. I come to you today as a direct descendant of xʷməthkվəyə, the great warrior that met Captain Vancouver upon his arrival on these shores. I am xʷməthkվəyə VII, the direct descendant that is honored to carry that name. He too welcomed the people to this land, and today I welcome each and every one of you to observe, to listen, to hear, and to celebrate what is going to take place in regards to historic event for all of us, xʷməthkվəyə. I cannot forget that some of our elders are here with us today, that they took the time to be here to ensure that we did the work properly, to look after our cultural and traditional ways, xʷməthkվəyə. These are just a few words of the people of Musqueam, to raise our hands to each and every one of you, all of our friends and relatives that are here today to elevate this, and for each and every one of us to remember this momentous occasion, xʷməthkվəyə. xʷməthkվəyə.
swallow na quaito na na ya eats it siatala nears quath tetzel namit alap xʷməthkվəyə eats siatala to siwan ash at Musqueam Squamish Tsleil-Waututh Nation Ashton xʷməthkվəyə Equals Ashton xʷməthkվəyə Quanatis Ashton to quick Allowin at Tamuch Hide Sep Elish Hide Sep Kasam. Just on behalf of Tsleil-Waututh Nation, of whom I'm a member, also my relatives from Musqueam and Squamish, I have lineage into both of those nations. Honored to stand here and just welcome you here to this land that our people have called home for thousands of years, giving gratitude to the ancestors of the Musqueam people, the Squamish people, and the Tsleil-Waututh people who called this area home since time out of mind, who walked on these lands, who paddled these waters. And we have to remember them in this work today. Hide Sep Elish Hide Sep Kasam.
Noyap, Yachit, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam, the Butch's Nast, at the Mill, the Kamkamalai, the Squamish, at the Quaito's Chit, and the Xʷməthkվəyə Chit, the Elks, the Mill, ate the tea, the Kota, the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh. Na te kwe complaint tanawa Xʷməthkվəyə the elk squat the stoltomo the folkplaten the chichiman the kwatsi nog nails ate the tea the kamkamalai tinakla since night see the Squaweka see the Squamish not no quest tinakla slaan not the time. Kwatsi Silana, 1886. On he ate yours. Not the Kamkama ate the tea. Just welcome each and every one of you, our dear friends of our Squamish and our relatives, Úxwumixw, Tsleil-Waututh. Years ago, in 1886, our women, our men, had taken care of the families that were living here in Vancouver at the time of the big fire. They paddled back and forth, rescuing those lives to bring them over to Tsleil-Waututh, known as North Vancouver. We take care of these lands with our relatives, as was mentioned by our brothers from time immemorial. We still take care of them as best as we can. The lands take care of us. Kamkamalai, known as the Squamish people, is the name for Vancouver. With the work that's happening with the new canoe that's going to be traveling back and forth, that we're all going to work together. And when we bridge these waters and these lands together, it makes all of us stronger, for a better future for each and every one of us. So we thank you for on the invitation of the family here today and welcome you once again to Kamkamalai on behalf of our Squamish ancestors, our people today and in the future, and with our relatives once again from us in Tsleil-Waututh, Waututh.
Michael McDaniel, if you could please come forward. Xʷməthkվəyə, Michael McDaniel of TransLink.
Thank you, Gabriel, and thank you to the drummers from the Squamish Nation for sharing the gift of a traditional song with us today. And thank you as well to Howard Grant from the Musqueam Nation, as well as Elroy Baker from the Squamish Nation for your thoughtful remarks and beginning the ceremony today. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael McDaniel. I'm the President and General Manager of Coast Mountain Bus Company, and I'll be your MC for today. On behalf of TransLink and its operating companies, Coast Mountain Bus Company, BC Rapid Transit Company, West Coast Express, and Transit Police, I'd like to begin by expressing that we are honored to be gathered here today with representatives from the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations on this unceded territory. We are proud to work, operate our transit service and serve our customers each and every day here. I'd also like to take a moment and acknowledge and reflect upon the tragic news that has been making headlines over the last number of weeks, as the unmarked graves of Indigenous children continue to be identified across communities across this country. These horrific tragedies are dark and shameful legacies from our country's residential school system, which has traumatized countless Indigenous people and left physical, psychological, and emotional scars that endure to this day. We recognize these heartbreaking events have impacted all members of our community, including many here today, and our Indigenous employees at TransLink and its operating companies. With you, we mourn for the children who never made it home, and we honor their lives and those of the survivors as well. Collectively, we are witnessing a pivotal moment in Canada's story as a country. My hope is that we are standing on an inflection point, and that as more Canadians learn about the residential school system and the shameful legacy, that it will be a catalyst that accelerates a journey towards true, meaningful reconciliation with Canada's Indigenous peoples. Today's ceremony and the historic celebration of the Burrard Chinook is the result of much planning, consultation, and collaboration with Indigenous nations, and is symbolic of TransLink's effort to further reconciliation at a critical time in our nation's history. The Burrard Chinook will serve as a floating landmark and a reminder of the rich culture of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations for many years to come. With that said, thank you all for joining us today for today's ceremony. It will mark a major milestone in public transit in our region. In my role as President and General Manager of Coast Mountain Bus Company, I not only oversee the 6,000-person team that operates and maintains our 1,700 bus fleet, but also the team that oversees our SeaBus fleet. I can't tell you how excited I am personally and how thrilled our crew is to get to today, to see the Burrard Chinook set sail and go into service. And I'd like to pause for a second and thank our SeaBus team. They have worked tirelessly behind the scenes for many months to get this vessel ready and prepare for the maiden voyage today, amidst what has obviously been an unprecedented, challenging 18 months during the pandemic. I feel very fortunate to lead a team of such dedicated and motivated individuals. Kudos to the SeaBus team that are here, and kudos to the SeaBus team that are working right now. In addition to members of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nation that you met moments ago, there are several other guests that I want to acknowledge right now. Two of the three artists who designed the artwork on the Burrard Chinook are here, Siobhan Joseph and Angela George. Thank you for coming and joining us on this special day. Acknowledging also artist Kelly Kennell, who unfortunately could not make it today. We also have Member of Parliament for Burnaby North Seymour, Terry Beach, here today, who is a champion for providing faster and more frequent transit throughout this region. Representing the provincial government, we also have BC's Minister for State and Infrastructure and MLA for North Vancouver Lonsdale, the Honourable Bowen Maws here, also a tireless advocate for better transportation in this province, and I know a very avid SeaBus user. We also have Mayor's Council Chair, Mayor Jonathan Cote here today, Mayor Mike Little, and Mayor Marianne Booth here. Thank you for joining us today. In fact, it was our region's Mayor's Council that first identified the need for the fourth SeaBus vessel as part of their 10-year vision, and who's brought us to this point today. And of course, TransLink's new CEO, Kevin Quinn, who you'll hear from momentarily and get to meet. There are so many people here in the crowd today. If we thanked you all, we would be here all day. And as we know in transit, we have to stay on time. But once again, thank you all for taking the time and joining us today. Our community partners, our Indigenous nations, our elected officials, our supporters. It's such a great feeling to once again be gathered in person, engaging in celebration, which is a testament to the great job of our government and the health authorities to get us to this point today in the recovery. Thank you, and I would now like to welcome back up to speak the speakers from the three nations to the podium or in front of the podium. Thank you.
Sďak'w Tomia, Onatium, Smanashtanat, Fanamana, Amechuch, Quewelsi Splitskwas, Sakit, Auchtan, Smanashtanat, Fanatan, Amechuch, that's what Och,
Emma Limat, Queen M. Stom, Walsiam, come forward. Casey Stogan, please come forward.
Sorry. Just leave it open for a little, like, give her a bit of space. So she can walk and then.
Yeah, I'll get her.
Lining it up. Yeah, they'll move it over. We'll line them all up.
I will explain to the witnesses that our artist isn't here.
Tashwalab, Slunslani, Heights Apkasim, Eats Siatala, Nish Quatsiais Alap at Tashnemish, New Quam Tap, Sam to Slunslani, Heights Apka, on behalf of our family, TransLink, Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, I want to thank you, beautiful women, for coming forward and preparing the floor for this ceremony in a good way. Heights Ewish, Heights Apkasim.
Workshop,
Emma Limat, please come forward. To the witnesses, my niece, Xʷməthkվəyə, one of the artists, couldn't be here today, but the teachings in our culture, she asked for someone to represent her today, to stand on this blanket, and to accept the honors that's being provided to her today.
Quanab, Donna Scotland, Me, Sďwxwməthkw, Angela George, artist of Tsleil-Waututh, asking you to come forward at this time.
Come on, Joseph. Joseph, heavy troops.
xʷməθkվəyə, to the witnesses, talking to our audience here today, representatives. We want you to know today, the teachings of our people, that you are asked to come forward to do some work on behalf of TransLink. Today, we are separating you now from that work. It now belongs, the responsibility belongs to TransLink. Their responsibility to ensure that they maintain the artwork that has been provided by you and your colleagues. Yep. We ask you to take that message to xʷməthkվəyə. We want you to know that from the bottom of our hearts, from the Musqueam people, you've done us a great honor to be part and parcel of a team that has provided a beautiful communication tool to all of the world and our people here in Vancouver, North Van, Burrard, to know that they are on the unceded traditional territory and waters of our people, xʷməthkվəyə. So today, to the witnesses, that is part of our work that we have to do to take place, to let our artists know that they've done their work and they can go away free of mind, xʷməthkվəyə.
Oh
xʷməthkվəyə, Musqueam Úxwumixw nikwas fatis ashton te Sgsmåliston at Sňwxwxw iwawa SeaBus nikwas quanatis ashton qua I Sgsmåliston I Sgsmåxwxw nikwas Úxwumixw ashton Túclalam nikwas fatis ashton qua I CIs qua Chwnchwnitum art nikwas Kakens ashton at Xｗxw nikwas fatis ashton qua Gall CIs at Xｗxw Túclalam nikwas Úxwumixw ashton se Haid sep ewish Haid sep se the wishes of the family. They also just wanted to acknowledge our beautiful artists here for doing that work through this process of colonization. There was a lot of harm done to our xʷməthkվəyə, to our people. And my late grandfather, he talked about how we became invisible on our lands. And today, our artists here are women, are strong women. In our language, they call it xʷməthkվəyə. They untied something today. They untied some of that colonization that happened to our people. Another interpretation for that word is healing. They brought a healing for our peoples today that we can represent in such a big way in our territories. It's so important. It's an important part of reconciliation and of healing. So TransLink and Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam, Squamish, they wanted Iwist at Túclalam. They wanted to show these beautiful artists to all of you. Haid sep ewish se Haid sep se Mike McDaniel, nikwas Hannah Chot HT, Bishop Thomas Collins.
Thank you. What a great ceremony this has been. I hope everybody is enjoying it. Now, on behalf of Coast Mountain Bus Company and TransLink, I just want to thank again Siobhan, Angela, and of course Kelly, who couldn't join us, for the great design of the SeaBus today. Now, without further ado, I will get to the part that we are all here for. It is with immense pride and on behalf of the entire team at Coast Mountain Bus Company and TransLink that I unveil to all of you today the Burrard Chinook. What an amazing entrance by the Burrard Chinook. Thank you to our partners at Vancouver Fire and Rescue. It is not every day we get a water arch to launch a new SeaBus vessel through. This is not normal at the bus company and at TransLink. Congratulations again to the artists for designing such a masterpiece. This is going to be a jewel in our fleet. Thank you so much. Now re-welcoming back to speak our three main speakers from the three nations. Thank you.
Just as a moment here that we're starting to move our artists away. It's been over a year with this pandemic that we've all gone onto Zoom. So we've all worn our sports jackets, our ties, and our suits and whatnot. But for us men, we always wore shorts. And I'm telling you today that this heat and this weather, I wish I was on Zoom right now.
Sďwməthkվəyə ne kwas Qunatus Ashton de Auchtan Sisu Armistice Ashton sat at Sďwxw Hydesap Elish. The family picked up the blankets and they're going to go around and shake hands with some of you, our relatives. Sďwməthkվəyə ne hi at the CI each hi to CIs, to our family, to everyone that's here on this beautiful day. That's all the work that we had in our hearts and minds. Hydesap Elish, Sďwməthkվəyə at Melsteo Amids Sďwxw at this time, in keeping with our traditions, the witnesses that we called at the beginning of the work, we're going to ask them to get up now and reflect on what has taken place today. So we're going to turn it over to the witnesses in the order they were called. Hydesap Elish, Hydesap Sďwxw.
Sďwxw. First of all, I want to thank my brothers for being the voice of the family. I want to thank our drummers for the beautiful song. Thank our Slanai, our ladies who came and laid the blankets down. And most of all, I want to thank the family. Thank the family for doing this work. This work is very important work. As you've seen, our three Slanai, our three ladies, our artists stood up and in Sem code. It was beautiful to see our new canoe blessed with the water. And it was good to hear that our families went inside with the cedar boughs and blessed it off as well. It's really important, keeping with our traditions of our three host nations, that we separate our artists from the piece that we all see. They have put their spirits into the new canoe, and the little bit of the new canoe went into them. So keeping with our traditions, the ceremony that you saw was to separate them so our artists can go away and do new things and new beautiful things. I want to thank our artists for your beautiful gifts, your beautiful insight in terms of what we see, what we witness. I want to thank the speakers for talking about the history, our history of this place. This place is laden with mythology and place names from our people that have largely went underground. We kept them secret for a reason, because ceremonies like this, we would go to jail not so long ago if we practiced this culture. So I want to thank our TransLink family and our family for resurrecting this ceremony in a very public place, letting our ancestors know that we're still here, our culture is still here, and this beautiful canoe behind me, named the Coast, the Burrard Chinook. As we all know, the Chinook is the first salmon to come back and welcome us. So I think it's a very appropriate name, and I want to thank the family for doing that. Thank the family for all those other works, so that when our Indigenous people and our host nations and our visitors get on this beautiful canoe, if it's this one or that one, they see it going by one another. It sparks a conversation. Our people are no longer going to be invisible in our homelands. Our culture is going to thrive. It's going to be visible. It's going to start conversations. So all of you and all of our visitors and all of the people that call this place home now, and along with the visitors that come from far away on the big cruise ships when they come back, hopefully, is they'll talk about what's on this canoe, what's on the SeaBus here. They'll spark conversation. Our little ones that we see blessing the floor will take pride in terms of seeing their culture recognized. They will no longer feel like they have to hide who they are and where they come from. So I want to thank the family and all of those workers, all those, we call them floor managers and people in the background that helped to ensure that everything went smoothly. And according to our traditions, I will never forget this day. I will never forget it. I will bring it home to my home fire in Squamish and let our people know what I witnessed here today. And if there is any ever dispute of what we did, how we stood up our artists and brushed them off and let them go and do more things and brushed off this beautiful canoe, you can come to me and I will say that happened. Musqueam Indian Band.
Call me up. Now the top, place they can be. But it's not out the way. Quote, that's not. Quote, that's not. Quote, that's not. When this ever called, we stuck the head of ourselves, got the name, this beautiful canoe. Quote, that's not. Burrard Chinook, Squamish Nation,
at Sgsmåkeminem, Stākwai, at Småkeminem kan Musqueam I Tsleil-Waututh, Stākwai. In our language of the Småkeminem, the Tsleil-Waututh and Musqueam, it's Stākwai. Hi, Tsep, Eric,
Thank you, Sgsmåkw, for calling my ancestral name, Tsleil-Waututh from Tsleil-Waututh. I am so very happy to be here. It's ceremony. It's been a really long time. And to see weaving as part of it. Angela is my sister weaver, and I'm so proud of the work that you've done. Like my good brother Chris had said, come and ask me and I will be more than happy to say how well the family has done. Thank you, Transit, for doing this in a traditional way, for the designs, for the collaboration of the three women that we stood up. There is a story to tell. And like you said, the Chinook are the first fish. When I think of a fish, I think of GPS. They go out, they come back, they know where to go, they know where they're going to plant their seed. So for the SeaBus, the weaving part on the top, it's like a blanket. It's like a path. Vibrant colors. Yes, we are here. We have never left. We will always be here. So once again, thank you all for this ceremony. Sgsmåkw.
Stākwai. What's the thing?
xʷməthkվəyə, Sgsmåthkvəyə. Honored guests, respected friends, elders, dignitaries. It really puts a good feeling in my heart and my mind to see all of you here today. It's been a long time since we've been able to gather like this, and it lifts my spirit for us to be able to be here together today in this way, once again. I'd like to raise my hands to our TransLink family for calling us all here today to witness this work, for calling me as a witness, remembering, thank you, Kaplano, reminding us what our responsibility is as a witness. I've observed the work that's happened today. I can share with my friends and family that our TransLink family carried out their one work in a good way. They did it by calling together the three communities, Úxwumixw, Squamish, səlilwətaḻ, bringing us all together here today to do this work in a good way, to witness it, and to acknowledge the relationship that we all have. The relationship that we have with TransLink, the relationship that we have with each other as family in this territory. So I just wanted to let you all know that I will take the work that's done here today back to my friends and family and let them know that it was done in the right way, in a good way.
For our next speaker, many of you will be meeting him for the very first time. Kevin Quinn is our new Chief Executive Officer of TransLink. Kevin brings extensive expertise and experience to this role, having served as the head of Maryland Transit Administration, one of the largest multimodal transit systems in the United States, with 6 transit modes, including bus, subway, light rail, paratransit, and commuter bus and rail. He also oversaw construction of the new 25-kilometer light rail line outside of Washington, D.C., which is currently the largest transit public-private partnership in the United States. We are incredibly excited to welcome Kevin to this region and to the TransLink family. His expertise in transportation planning, combined with his personal passion for delivering an exceptional customer experience, will be essential and pivotal for helping us rebuild our ridership in the wake of COVID-19 and return our system to the booming ridership growth and momentum we were experiencing pre-pandemic. Everyone, please join me in welcoming TransLink's new CEO, Kevin Quinn.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Michael, for that introduction, and to all of you in the audience for that warm welcome. I want to give a special thanks to our honored guests from the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations for sharing in this celebration with us. And personally, I'm so honored to be with you today as a witness. As Michael mentioned, I'm new to this role and the Metro Vancouver region. And in fact, my first day at TransLink was on Monday, and it's been a pretty busy 4 days. Meeting with employees from across our organization and learning about TransLink's many upcoming projects and initiatives. And as I settle into this new role, I'm so incredibly excited to get out there and begin meeting with our community partners, stakeholders, government officials, our Indigenous leaders and customers from across the region, including many of you who have joined us here today. I'm such a firm believer that in order for transit agencies to thrive, we must have such a deep understanding of the communities that we serve. I feel really fortunate to have arrived in Metro Vancouver in time for this maiden voyage, which marks the first of what I really hope will be the first of many public events and celebrations during my tenure at TransLink. First, I have to say I'm absolutely in awe of this magnificent piece of artwork. It's very rare in the transit world to have something like this, and it's so amazing and beautiful. And not only is it breathtaking, but it's also a beautiful tribute to the Chinook salmon, a species we've learned is a staple of Indigenous communities for centuries and is an integral part of the Pacific ecosystem. And I think it's very fitting, given that the Chinook salmon are a migratory species traveling from freshwater rivers to coastal seas and back to freshwater rivers to reproduce throughout their lifespan. And in many ways, the life cycle of the Chinook is symbolic of the trek that our own SeaBus will make each day, traversing back and forth across the Burrard Inlet. There are also parallels with the travel patterns of its passengers, particularly commuters from the North Shore who will rely on the Chinook to ferry them into the heart of Vancouver's central business district for work, school, important medical appointments, or social activities, and then return them safely back to their homes, their families, and their loved ones. I want to once again really thank artists Kelly, Angela, and Siobhan for helping us transform the newest addition to our fleet into a piece of art that will be admired by our passengers and by onlookers alike, and that pays homage to this area's rich Indigenous history. One of the key themes that I've really learned today is that visual representation for Indigenous people on their own land is incredibly important, and it's something that we're going to continue to prioritize at TransLink. I really look forward to continuing to work with the local Indigenous communities to ensure our public art program supports more local Indigenous artists and help to ensure that Indigenous artwork is on display at even more locations throughout our regional transit network. Admittedly, absolutely. Admittedly, I'm pretty new here, and I have a lot of learning to do about this region, which is my family's new home, and a lot of listening to do in the days, the weeks, and the months ahead. But I do want to express how important it is to me personally that TransLink continues to play an active role in reconciliation, particularly with the 10 Indigenous communities on whose unceded territories our transit system serves. I know that our team at TransLink has undertaken an immense amount of work over the past year to develop meaningful relationships with Indigenous peoples through meetings, consultations, and discussions. And I want to commit to all of you in attendance that this important work will continue to be a top priority for TransLink under my leadership, and that our journey together is just beginning. I can't tell you also how ecstatic I am to finally be here in Metro Vancouver with my wife and my 2 kids, and to take the reins at TransLink, an organization that is known throughout the transit industry as a model for success and for regional collaboration, for its record-setting ridership growth, and its historic service expansions in the 5 years leading up to the pandemic. Like all transit agencies across the globe, we have our work cut out for us as we look to rebuild ridership in a post-COVID world, but I am so optimistic that we can recapture that momentum. Before I close, I have to admit I love and have come to really love TransLink's customer promise to always put you first, your safety, your time, and your connection to the people and places that matter most. And I think that cuts right to the heart of our mandate as a transit agency and a community institution, and is the reason we are here today, to serve the public safely, responsibly, and respectfully, and to help strengthen ties in our community and within our community. Because developing meaningful relationships and working together and healing is how we're going to build one of the best transit systems in the world. Before I hand the microphone over, I want to just take a minute because we have a few gifts for the nations and the artists that have joined with us today. So I was hoping that Siobhan Joseph, Angela George, Howard Grant, Alroy Baker, Gabriel George, and Aidan Paul, on behalf of Kelly Cannell, could please join me at the podium for a moment, and perhaps some assistance with handing these out. Sure, yeah. So these are framed photos of the SeaBus attribution wall so that you can each take a little piece of the SeaBus home with you.
Is that everybody that's called? Yeah. Is this everyone? Yes. Can you tilt it so we can see what it is? Can you turn it this way a little bit? Sit down and you could make it flat. Like this up.
Ross, can you stand in for Aiden?
That's Macus.
Macus.
Max got it.
Okay. Yeah, tilt it forward just that little bit.
How did you get a picture of me?
There's Howard. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all so much. Thank you, sir.
Oh, see ya. It's not where's Waldo, it's where's Howard.
Hard job. Yeah. Hard job. Yeah.
Thank you all again so much. I also want to note that in addition, as a gift on behalf of the witnesses, TransLink is donating $10,000 to the Indian Residential School Survivors Society. I want to thank you all again so much for designing this beautiful artwork and helping us to launch this vessel into service. I'm now incredibly honored to invite the Member of Parliament for Burnaby North Seymour, Terry Beach, to share a few words. Terry.
Thank you, Kevin, and welcome to day 4. You're doing a great job so far. Bonjour à tous, c'est un grand plaisir d'être avec vous aujourd'hui. I want to start by acknowledging that this entire event is taking place on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people, and just how unbelievably humbled I am to be a part of this ceremony today. And humility is really a good trait to have in this job. I've said for a long time, now coming up to 5.5 years, that some of the best lessons that I've learned as a member of Parliament have come from the relationships that I've developed with the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, the Squamish, and other Indigenous peoples. And I think the fact that the SeaBus today has the Chinook on it. One of the first pieces of legislation that I worked on was revising the Fisheries Act. Can't really talk about reconciliation without the Fisheries Act, and of course now Indigenous knowledge is incorporated into law, referred to by the minister, so that's taken into account when decisions are being made. I also think that we all need to be humble because we're humbled by the fight that we have to put forward against climate change. We're humbled by this pandemic. We're humbled by the enormity of the challenge of rebuilding trust and going down the true path of reconciliation. And we're all working on that together, and I think one of the speakers that started off talking about untying a knot today, we have many more knots to untie, and I'm dedicated to that cause. I have a full list of dignitaries to acknowledge, but most of them have already been acknowledged, so I will focus on the artists. Congratulations, it's a beautiful piece of work. I had the benefit of sitting next to one of the artists and I learned a small amount of the details of a small part of the boat, but I'm looking forward to learning much more about the whole thing. You did excellent work. Thank you very much for doing it. In 2016, Prime Minister Trudeau announced that the Government of Canada would be providing $460 million under the Public Transit Infrastructure Fund to help British Columbia shorten commute times, cut air pollution, and strengthen its communities through public transit improvements like the new Burrard Chinook SeaBus. The Government of Canada remains committed to making significant investments in public transit systems and other infrastructure that improve the lives of Canadians. Transportation infrastructure goes so much deeper than just getting around. It's connected to our housing affordability, it's connected to our quality of life, it's connected to how we live. The Government of Canada has invested over $4.4 billion through our Investing in Canada plan in over 580 projects across BC since 2015, including more than $16 million towards this beautiful vessel that we're seeing here today. Today's blessing and maiden voyage of the Burrard Chinook highlights the significance of this investment for residents of the North Shore communities. The SeaBus is a lifeline for people around here. Before the pandemic, the SeaBus had nearly 20,000 boardings occurring each weekday. The new vessel will allow for the delivery of a more consistent 10-minute service time so people can reliably get back to work when everybody is getting back to normal. It also is a fantastic canvas for our local Indigenous artists, and I hope it will ensure that everyone reflects on our Indigenous history, but also the importance of our wild Pacific salmon. Our government has dedicated $647 million towards protecting and restoring our wild Pacific salmon. You can't really talk about reconciliation without talking about salmon. We're fully committed to continuing the transition away from open net pen salmon farming on the BC coast. And I noticed that there wasn't just a Chinook on the side of the vessel, there was also an orca. And of course, the Chinook is one of the favorite meals for the orca. And we continue to be dedicated through our, not just the protection of our southern resident killer whales and other orcas, but the restoration of the species as well. And we'll continue our dedicated work towards that. And then mostly, I just want to close with the fact that it is great to be outside. It is great to be with people. It is great to be off Zoom. And there's a huge amount of people here that I do so much work with that I haven't seen in person. And I think the most fitting thing to close with is, since the last time that I saw a lot of people in this room, UNDRIP is no longer just the law in BC, it is now the law in Canada, and I look forward to how that's going to change things going forward. Thank you for having me be a part of this great day.
No, not yet. I would like to now ask to come to the podium, Vancouver Lonsdale MLA, the Honourable Bowen Ma.
Hawk squall to noyup, hawk the squallow quinn squatch no me up. Nail tata mayok, ya Musqueam, Sgsmåmish, Tsleil-Waututh. Bowen Ma, Queen Sna, Chenkamontomi up. What I just said in the very little Squamish I know, Squamish Nation I know, is hello everyone. I'm very, very honored to be with all of you here today on the territories of the Squamish, the Musqueam, and the Tsleil-Waututh. My name is Bowen Ma. I'm also honored to be here on behalf of Premier John Horgan and the Government of British Columbia. I came with a speech all prepared, but having been very moved by what I've just witnessed, I've decided to speak from the heart, which Elder Alroy Baker is always encouraging me to do at these ceremonies, even though I hear it's quite ill-advised for politicians. I'll do my best. Thank you so much for being here to witness the work, but for also being a part of the broader work towards reconciliation that we all have to do. We're all wearing these ribbons today, and they're not simply a fashion statement. They are an acknowledgement of the incredible work that we are all called upon to do in our journey towards reconciliation. It can be tempting to imagine that the that the discoveries at residential schools of unmarked graves of children is somehow new to us, new to Canadians. But the reality is the Truth and Reconciliation Commission told us about this years ago. They told us what we would find if we went looking, and now that we see, we cannot look away. There is a lot for us to do. And this kind of acknowledgement of the traditional territories upon which these services operate is so incredibly important, and I lift my hands to TransLink, to Squamish, to Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam, all the artists, for what you have accomplished here today. Thank you. Turning to the SeaBus service for a moment, though, I have to admit I'm quite biased living in North Vancouver. I think the SeaBus service is truly the crown jewel of the TransLink network. And this additional SeaBus, which, by the way, I do think we should probably adopt the nomenclature, the people's canoe. That's really fantastic. But this additional SeaBus will increase reliability, increase resilience of this incredibly important connection in our region. And that's important because every person we can get out of a car means less congestion, less GHGs, more well-connected communities. And this is also an incredibly important work for all levels of government to support because of the other major global crisis that we are all facing, which is climate change. We know that in British Columbia, transportation accounts for well over a third of all the GHGs that British Columbia is responsible for. And what we see happening, the heat dome that has smothered our province, the fires and the wildfires and the floods throughout that pepper British Columbia, what happened to Lytton, all of this is demonstrative of the incredible crisis and the urgency with which we must face this global emergency. Now, this is obviously a battle that the entire world has to take on, but British Columbia has its role as well. And that's why our government is committed to continuing our historic investments into the public transit service. And as we rebuild ridership, we're also very much looking forward to rolling out details of our next major program, which is free transit for children 12 and under. And that will be rolling out throughout the province within TransLink system and BC Transit system this fall. Now, I think I'll close by mentioning that I know that a lot of you will know that I also refer to the SeaBus as the people's yacht. And you can't imagine how excited I have been to come here to ride on our new yacht because, folks, as of today, you all have a new yacht too. Take care. Oh, I'd like to also invite Mayor Cote to the podium, our chair of the TransLink Mayor's Council. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Bowen, and it is a pleasure to be here on behalf of the Mayor's Council on the launch of the Burrard Chinook, a really important piece of our transportation infrastructure. I am going to keep my remarks short today because I'm eager to get the Burrard Chinook into service so that our general public can also get out and enjoy this new piece of transit infrastructure. Now, I'd like to begin my remarks today by acknowledging our Indigenous partners. It has been incredibly special and beautiful today to see the partnerships with this, with the expansion of our SeaBus program with our Indigenous partners. It's been an honor to be a witness to this special event today. When I think back and recall and tell the stories of the event to my friends, my family, to my colleagues on the Mayor's Council who weren't able to be here today, I will tell the stories about the partnerships and the relationships that we are building with our Indigenous partners. I will tell the stories of the dancing and the singing that helped commemorate this important today. And I will tell the story of when the SeaBus emerged under a waterfall of water, and the beautiful artwork of our new SeaBus became apparent to all. And I think the story and the memory that will last the strongest is not only the beautiful artwork, but seeing the beaming faces of everyone in attendance today and the smiles when that artwork became present. And I think those beaming faces and smiles will be spread across our region when our entire communities begin to develop a connection with our new canoe connecting Vancouver and the city of North Vancouver. I would next like to acknowledge our federal and provincial partners here today. Without the support with the federal and provincial government, we wouldn't be able to be here, and we wouldn't be able to support the important work we do here at TransLink and investing in public transit in our communities. The Mayor's Council in the region has a very bold and ambitious plan to expand transit, and we've been able to enact and improve transit in our region because of the solid partnerships that we've had provincially and federally. Those two governments have recognized how important it is to our region, not only to our local economy, not only to sustainability and climate change, but ultimately about connecting our communities and providing opportunities for people to move around our regions. So I thank both our provincial and federal colleagues who've been tremendous partners here. Now, no doubt the additional SeaBus service is going to provide improved transit service for our entire region in the Metro Vancouver region. It's going to help us be able to work through the challenges we faced with COVID and help us rebuild and attract people back into transit. More specifically, though, it is going to connect our communities here in Vancouver and on the North Shore. And I'm pleased to see that we've got a lot of my colleagues here. We have Mayor Booth from the City of West Vancouver, Mayor Little from the District of North Van. We've got Councillor Hu from the City of North Vancouver, and Councillor Boyle from the City of Vancouver. And really wonderful to be able to celebrate with the colleagues that are going to be connected to this new service. So on behalf of the Mayor's Council, it's my honor and pleasure to be here on this exciting day. And with that, I would like to introduce my colleague on the Mayor's Council, Mayor Little from the District of North Vancouver.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mayor Cote, for your leadership with TransLink and for your service here today. Thank you to the host nations for having us here and being so neighborly and welcoming to us today. And I also want to thank all of our special guests, especially the artists who painted the star of the show here today, and also the SeaBus crews and support staff that put it into operation. I wish it a very long time serving our community. For those of you who live and work on the North Shore, the SeaBus indeed is a vital connection to the rest of the region. In about 1891, when the District of North Vancouver was formed, the first motto for the District of North Vancouver was, "We prosper in your prosperity." And it's written on the chain of office that I wear. It's all over District Hall. And what it was an acknowledgement between that connection between Vancouver and the North Shore, and that vital link back and forth to open up the economy on the North Shore and tie it in with the progress and success and prosperity on the South Shore. And this SeaBus link still continues to serve that purpose for our communities today. We've been waiting a long time for increased service for SeaBus, and we have lots of transportation challenges on the North Shore. As you probably all well know, I'm going to be welcoming our new CEO of TransLink to a meeting on the North Shore, and we'll probably have it about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, just to make sure that we get that point across. But this increased service is something we were talking about with Pat Jacobson, was the CEO of TransLink back in about 2007, and the critically important piece that this increased service plays for the District of North Vancouver. If you've ever used the buses on the North Shore, you know that doesn't matter where you are, it's tied to the timing of the SeaBus. And so if we can get the frequency of service from the SeaBus up, we can decouple those routes from that timeline. We can make it so there could be shorter routes or longer routes. We can look at the compass card data that we have, and we can make sure that the service that we have on the North Shore is efficient as it can be, both for serving our own residents, but also in many cases, more importantly, for making sure that commuters coming to and from the North Shore have access to good service to get access to the great jobs that we have. This additional vessel will ensure convenient and reliable service for those who commute to and from the North Shore businesses as we look to rebuild from the pandemic. And it's a unique way for visitors to access both Lonsdale and the attractions and parks across the breadth of the North Shore from Deep Cove to Grouse Mountain. We have nearing 3 million people a year in a pre-COVID time that come over to the North Shore and tour our tourist locations. And when you ask people about their experience coming to the area, they don't talk about, well, we took public transit to get to Grouse Mountain or whatever. They talk about the SeaBus. They talk about that experience of getting out in the harbor and seeing the activity and seeing the North Shore Mountains and the city at the same time. It's an iconic piece for our community, and I hope that we continue the SeaBus service for a very long time, both as that connection to the North Shore. On behalf of the communities served by the SeaBus, I want to thank everyone involved for delivering this message. And now with a closing song, I'd like to welcome up the Tsleil-Waututh singers. Welcome.
On behalf of my relatives, this is all the work that we have at this time, but we wanted to stand, as is our custom and tradition, to thank the witnesses who have gotten up to speak and say a few words in regards to what has taken place today. Your words echo the sentiment of the initiative that was taking place today, the reminder of who we were as Úxwumixw people, and to our people from across Canada, that you're invested here in British Columbia in this new economic recovery, and to our provincial partners, we also raise our hands to you so that you will bring this message back to the legislature and let them know what you have observed, and that this canoe is our family's canoe.